Hey everybody, this is this, and normally I don't do any of these review type stuff, but I just recently went out into Walmart and got me a copy of, well, the StarCraft basic game, and as well as getting this lovely little movie called Batman Under the Red Hood. And I'm going to try to do a review on this as best I can. So, just to let you all know that basically I'm giving this movie the rating that I can. The main reason why I'm doing this is because this movie literally came from a sort of disaster fluck in itself, and the movie in itself is all right, but being the comic book fan, I know where the source material came from for this movie, and it actually came from two comics. One was Jacob Loeb's Hush, drawn by Jim Lee, which was a good story, but in there they revealed that Hush was going to be Jason Todd, and instead it turned out to be Clayface disguised as the Jason Todd or second Robin. And then came along the other story of the Red Hood story, where Jason Todd really was the Red Hood and all. And no, I mean the movie itself, like I said, is okay. But given the source material, which was extremely bad, yeah, the source material for the Batman Under the Red Hood and Jason Todd becoming the Red Hood, it really just fell apart in itself, and that's where pretty much and basically it led into what's now known as Amazon's attack and not forgetting Countdown. Yeah. If in fact there's this one guy, Lucaria on GuyWithTheGlasses.com, who self-iterates the clusterfuck that Jason Todd and bringing him back to life turned into, and boy did it ever. The man basically kept switching personalities. First he was a psycho, then he became a guy trying to do things right but doing them all wrong. Then he became an admirer of somebody. Then he became Mr. Nice, and then he became a psycho again. I mean, the man has more personalities than watching a schizophrenic get come down from an acid trip. It's just you don't know where he's all over the fucking place, and they just constantly kept screwing up. Hell, they even turned him into a giant bug once. No reason whatsoever. They just turned him into a bug. But anyways, and of course, you got what the infamous Countdown storylines, which was ungodly bad and unreadable. And if you know what that is, go watch Lucaria, in which you'll learn the whole punch somebody and scream, "I'm a man," or "I'm going to kill you to death." Yeah, that's great writing there, guys at DC. Great writing. That made no sense whatsoever. How can you kill somebody to death? But I'm getting ahead of myself here. The movie in itself was okay, and they didn't exactly follow the original source material because the original source material just, well, basically it was thrown off a building and splattered all it fit east front on the entire cement floor horribly, mainly with the black mask. And the black mask that you see in the movie is not the black mask in the comic books, because the black mask that was in the comic books around that time sucked horribly. He was the basically the second Black Mask, and the guy was he had more character rearrangements than I've ever seen, and it's basically like they kept trying to push him as this ultimate Batman villain, and it didn't really work. None of it worked, and then they pushed Catwoman in there, and they had Catwoman kill him. Probably the only good thing about that entire Catwoman story, besides the fact that she had a kid that nobody wanted, and a horrible storyline and a bad writer, Will Pfeiffer. Well, yeah, same guy who wrote Amazon's Attack. Yeah, but yeah, bad writing, bad storytelling, bad everything, and bad characterization. And I have to honestly give props to the Black Mask now, or not. I mean, the Black Mask in the movie, because he was a hell of a lot more better than the actual comic book version. But yeah, storyline was a little bit more better. Made it was a little bit something that I don't know. I don't think the DC editors knew at the time when they were doing that storyline called continuity. Yeah, it's a little something called continuity here, and apparently the writers back then who made Amazon's and Countdown and that atrocious Red Hood story basically didn't keep in with any continuity with anything, and it's just a fucking disaster. But yeah, it kept it in a much more continuity, much more better story. The only problem I see with this film is that I basically see it as more as a rental, because it's good as a rental, but I can only really give it, like, if I was going to give it a rating, 2.5 stars here, mainly because they told a better storyline and they kept in with the continuity of itself, which the original storyline did not do this. And um, and just given the fact of its original source material, it does kind of hold you back. But if you don't know what the source material, you'll probably give it a higher rating and like it a lot more. But if you do like these type of stories and you loved Amazon's Attack and all that, and of course you got the same brain activity as, say, the ex-president of George W. Bush, of course you're going to give it a full star because you're a complete idiot. But any other way, the storyline in this movie tells a much more better storyline, and probably the storyline they should have told in the original version, but cluster fucked that one up and then dragged it on all the way into Amazon, into Countdown. I almost said Amazon's Attack, but yeah, just the fact that this led to two of the most worst storylines in comic book history, and now they decided to turn it into an animated movie, at least a much more better movie. I just hope to God that this is never made into a fucking movie as well. God. But going back to the red under the Red Hood, I basically see it as a good rental and then forget about it, because I don't really see this as something to own or to keep under your shelves. But it's an okay storyline, but it's a better storyline than its original source material. And of course, it's got a better Black Mask than its original, or the second version of the Red Mask in the comic books, because there were three of them. And of course, the one that clusterfucked was the second one, and that's what the one that this was loosely based under, even though that one was a disaster. But my time's almost up, and yeah, 2.5 stars. Unless you don't know what the source material, you'll probably give it a higher score. Other than that, I just say rent it, then pretty much forget it.